Council and Shock Story. First part: the great crystal halls of the Galactic Council rang with emergency alarms. Hundreds of alien beings rushed to their seats as red lights flashed across the massive dome. Ambassador Kiwu from Earth stood perfectly still in the center of the circular chamber. His black suit looked plain next to the strange forms of creatures from across the Galaxy Council. Leader Vexstar raised his long tentacles for silence. His blue skin rippled with worry as he spoke into the chamber's voice system. We gather today because of the most shocking military action in 3,000 years of galactic history. A huge hologram appeared above the chamber floor. It showed Earth as a small blue ball floating in the darkness of space. Around the planet, like angry metal wasps, floated the warships of the Corvani Empire. The ships were black and deadly-looking, with weapons pointing toward the peaceful world below. 15,000 vessels, whispered Council Member Thekler. His green scales turned pale as he counted the enemy ships. Emperor Krex has brought his entire war fleet against one single world. Kiwu remained quiet, but his jaw muscles tightened. Around him, the other delegates made worried sounds. Some clicked their claws nervously, while others buzzed their wings in fear. The humans have no real military beyond their home system, Vexstar continued. Their technology is old compared to ours. They have only 8 billion people on their planet. This looks like nothing but the complete destruction of their race. A heavy quiet fell over the chamber. The Corvani Empire had been taking over worlds for many years. They always picked weak targets, small colonies with few defenses. Isolated planets with no help coming. Earth seemed to fit this pattern perfectly. Ambassador Kiwu Vexstar's voice echoed through the chamber. Does your government have anything to say about this unprovoked attack? The human diplomat stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. My government thanks the Council for its concern. We have received Emperor Krex's declaration of war. We have read his demands for our complete surrender. We have reviewed his terms very carefully. The chamber waited. Many delegates leaned forward, expecting to hear that Earth would give up without a fight. Our response was sent to the Corvani fleet 3 hours ago, Kiwu continued. We said no. Shocked gasps filled the assembly. Council member Yithka, whose crystal body made musical sounds when she moved, spoke first. Ambassador, surely you understand that your situation is hopeless. The Corvani have weapons that could break your planet apart. Their shields can stop anything you might shoot at them. This is not courage. This is choosing death. Kiwu's expression did not change. We appreciate the Council's analysis. However, Earth has chosen to defend itself. But how can you possibly fight them? The question came from dozens of alien throats at once. The human ambassador smiled then. Something about that smile made several delegates feel uncomfortable, even though it looked friendly. We have our methods. On the hologram display, the first Corvani ships began moving down toward Earth's atmosphere. Their formation was perfect, and their intention was clear. The invasion of humanity had begun. Down in the chamber, Kiwu watched the approaching enemy fleet with no sign of fear. The other delegates muttered among themselves in their various languages. Some made prayers to their gods, while others calculated how long the humans might last. Ambassador, said Council Member Rolthick, his gas-formed body swirling with anxiety. Perhaps your people do not fully understand what they face. The Corvani Empire has conquered 47 worlds. They have never been defeated in battle. Their weapons can turn mountains into dust. We have studied their military records, Kiwu replied calmly. We are aware of their capabilities. Then why do you choose to fight? Why not save your people and accept their rule? Kiwu turned to face the questioner directly. Because we are human, we do not kneel to anyone. The simplicity of the answer shocked the chamber into silence. These aliens had spent centuries building a civilization based on negotiation and compromise. They had forgotten that some species would rather die than surrender. What can 8 billion humans do against an empire that spans 1,000 worlds? Vexstar asked quietly. We will find out, Kiwu answered. On the display, the lead Corvani battleship entered Earth's atmosphere. It was massive, easily the size of a small city, with weapons covering every surface. Its shields glowed as they pushed through the air. Deflecting the weak defensive fire from Earth's few orbital platforms, Emperor Crex's voice boomed through the chamber's communication system. Primitive humans of Earth, you have one final chance to surrender. Put down your pathetic weapons and submit to Imperial rule. You have 10 of your minutes to decide. Kiwu gestured to the communications officer. Please patch me through to the Corvani fleet. Channel open, Ambassador. Emperor Crex, we have received your ultimatum. Our answer remains the same. You are not welcome in our system. You have 10 seconds to begin leaving, or we will consider. You, an enemy. The alien emperor's laughter echoed through the chamber. Foolish creatures. You face the might of an empire that controls 1,000 worlds. Your entire planet has fewer warships than my personal guard. What could you possibly do to harm the mighty Corvani fleet? Kiwu's smile grew wider. We are human, Emperor. We will think of something. The first Corvani battleship, bristling with weapons and protected by powerful shields, descended through the clouds above Earth's largest ocean. Its commander was confident that nothing on this primitive world could threaten his vessel. Then the ocean exploded. What the Corvani had mistaken for natural water revealed itself as the largest hidden weapons platform in human history. The Pacific defense grid, disguised as islands and underwater installations, unleashed a concentrated barrage of magnetic cannons. The weapons fired tungsten rods at incredible speed, striking the battleship from 17 different angles at once. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons and normal projectiles, had no defense against solid metal rods moving at 30% of light speed. The battleship's hull cracked like an egg. Its internal atmosphere vented into space as explosions tore through. It structured in the council chamber. Complete silence fell as the delegates watched the impossible happen. The mighty Corvani battleship, which should have been invincible, was dying above Earth's ocean. One down, Kiwu said quietly. Emperor Crex's voice had lost its confidence. This is impossible. How did you hide such weapons from our sensors? We did not hide them, Kiwu replied. We disguised them. There is a difference. The council delegates stared at the human ambassador with new understanding. Earth was not the helpless world they had believed it to be. The humans had been preparing for this moment, and they were ready to fight. Council in shock story, second part. Admiral Haijin stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station, New Seoul. She watched the tactical screen as the Corvani fleet spread across space like a deadly infection. Enemy ships moved in perfect formations that had conquered 47 worlds. They are following standard invasion protocol, reported Lieutenant Minho from his sensor station. Heavy battleships in front, support vessels in defensive positions, troop transports moving to secondary formation. Completely predictable, muttered Commander Jong-soo as he studied the enemy approach vectors. They're not even trying to be creative about it. Heejin nodded while her fingers danced across the command controls. They do not need to be creative. They have used this same attack pattern for decades because it works every time. Overwhelming force, superior technology, and broken enemy morale. She paused, watching the lead ships enter the outer atmosphere. But they have never fought humans before. The communication system crackled to life. This is Emperor Crex of the Corvani Empire. Primitive humans of Earth, you have one final opportunity to surrender. Put down your pathetic weapons and submit. To Imperial rule, you have 10 of your minutes to comply. Haijin looked at her communications officer. Lieutenant Hai 1. Open a channel to all vessels and defense platforms. Channel opened, Admiral. This is Admiral Haijin of the Terran Defense Force. Emperor Crex, we received your ultimatum. Our response remains unchanged. You are not welcome in our system. You have 10 seconds to begin your withdrawal, or we will consider you hostile. Alien Emperor's laughter echoed through the bridge speakers. Foolish creatures, you face the might of an empire that spans 1,000 worlds. Your entire planet has fewer warships than my personal escort. What could you possibly do to harm us? We are human, Haijin replied simply. We will figure something out. The first Corvani battlecruiser, massive and covered with weapons, descended. Through the cloud layer above the Pacific Ocean, its shields shimmered as they met the atmosphere, easily deflecting the sparse defensive fire from Earth's orbital platforms. "Ma'am?" Minho's voice carried confusion. "I am reading some kind of massive energy buildup in the ocean below the lead ship." Haijin smiled grimly. "Right on schedule. All ships, execute protocol surprise." The ocean erupted in a spectacular display of hidden power. What the Corvani had, mistaken for a natural body of water, revealed itself as the largest camouflaged weapons platform in human history. The Pacific Defense Grid, disguised as islands and underwater installations, unleashed a concentrated barrage of magnetic acceleration cannons. The weapons struck the battlecruiser from 17 different angles simultaneously. The alien ships, shields designed to repel energy weapons and conventional projectiles, had no defense against tungsten rods accelerated to 30% of light speed. The battlecruiser's hull cracked like an egg. Its internal atmosphere vented into space. As secondary explosions tore through its superstructure, "One down," reported Jiangsu, his voice professionally calm despite the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Emperor Krex's response was immediate and furious. "Impossible. How did you hide such weapons from our sensors?" "We did not hide them," Haijin replied. "We disguised them." "There is a difference." The Corvani fleet shifted formation, their ships spreading wider and climbing to higher altitudes. But as they climbed, the mountains of Earth revealed their own deadly secrets. What had appeared to be natural peaks across 6 continents suddenly split open, revealing massive railgun installations that had been carved directly into the planetary bedrock. Admiral Haiwan reported, "We are receiving targeting data from the Global Defense Network. All continental installations are online and locked onto enemy vessels. Fire when ready." The mountains of Earth spoke with one voice, electromagnetic. Launchers, each the size of a city block, hurled their projectiles skyward at velocities that bent space-time around them. The Corvani ships, caught between the ocean platforms below and the mountain fortresses above, found themselves in a crossfire that their tactical computers had never been programmed to handle. "This is impossible." Emperor Krex's voice had lost its earlier confidence. "No primitive species could construct such defenses. Our intelligence was perfect." "Your intelligence was incomplete," Haijin replied. "You saw a peaceful world with minimal military presence. You did not see a species that had been preparing for this moment for over a century." Another Corvani cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash as a mountain-launched projectile punched through its command section. The alien formation began to waver, their perfect attack patterns disrupted by losses they had never anticipated. Back to defensive positions, Krex ordered his fleet regroup at maximum weapons range. But as the Corvani ships retreated, the asteroid belt beyond Mars began to move. What the invaders had cataloged as lifeless rocks revealed themselves as the largest fleet of camouflaged warships ever assembled. Each asteroid shed its disguise, revealing sleek human vessels that had been lying dormant for decades. "This is Captain Dong Hayan of the Terran fleet," came a new voice over the communications array. "Emperor Krex, you are now surrounded. Strongly suggest you reconsider your invasion plans." The tactical display showed the truth of his words. The Corvani fleet, expecting to face a helpless world, now found themselves trapped between Earth's defensive networks and a human fleet that outnumbered them 3-1. "See," Haijin continued conversationally, "we have been expecting visitors like you for quite some time. We just wanted to make sure you felt welcome." The space around Earth filled with the debris of destroyed Corvani vessels. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves outmatched by weapons they had never imagined. The humans had not simply hidden their military capabilities. They had spent generations preparing for this exact moment. "How is this possible?" Krex demanded. "Our scouts surveyed this system for years. You had no significant military presence." "We had exactly what we needed," Haijin replied. "We just made sure you would not recognize it until it was too late." The remaining Corvani ships tried to form defensive formations, but the human fleet moved with precision and coordination that spoke of decades of preparation. Every move the aliens made was anticipated. Every defensive position was already targeted. Emperor came, a panicked voice from the Corvani fleet. We are losing ships faster than we can count them. Request immediate reinforcements. There are no reinforcements, Krex replied quietly. We brought our entire fleet. This was supposed to be a simple conquest. Nothing about humans is simple, Hyjin observed. That is something you should have learned before you came here. The battle that was supposed to last minutes had stretched into hours. The invasion force that was supposed to overwhelm Earth's defenses was instead it being systematically destroyed by weapons that should not have existed. Admiral, reported Minho, the enemy fleet is attempting to withdraw from the system. Let them go, Hyjin ordered, but make sure they understand they are not welcome back. As the surviving Corvani ships limped away from Earth, Emperor Krex found himself facing a reality he had never considered. The humans were not the primitive species his intelligence had described. They were something far more dangerous. They were prepared. Council and Shock Story 4th Part Emperor Krex stood in the command center of his flagship, the stellar dominion surrounded by tactical displays that painted a picture of complete disaster. His invasion fleet, the pride of the Corvani Empire, was scattered across the Sol system in various states of destruction and retreat. Status report, he commanded, his voice barely controlled fury. General Victor, his second in command, approached with obvious reluctance. My lord, we have lost 63% of our invasion force. The humans have weapons platforms hidden throughout their system. Our scouts report defensive installations on every major planetary body. What about their fleet strength? Unknown, my lord. They appear to have ships disguised as asteroids, space stations, and even debris fields. Our sensors cannot distinguish between genuine celestial objects and camouflaged vessels. Krex's clawed hands gripped the railing of his command platform. Impossible. Our intelligence networks surveyed this system for decades. The humans had no significant military presence. Sir, interrupted Communications Officer Yuldan, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through. Captain Dong Hyan's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional, despite the carnage his forces had just inflicted. Emperor Krex, this is Captain Dong Hyan of the Terran Defense Force. We have been monitoring your fleet's movements. We notice you seem to be having some difficulty with your invasion plans. You dare mock the Corvani Empire? Krex snarled. Not at all. We are simply observing that your current tactical situation appears less than optimal. We would like to offer you an alternative. I do not negotiate with primitives. That is unfortunate, because we have something you need. Despite his rage, Krex found himself curious. What could you possibly possess that the Corvani Empire requires? A way out of this system with some of your ships still intact. The bridge fell silent. General Victor stepped forward, his expression grim. My lord, our remaining forces are trapped between the planetary defenses and the human fleet. If they activate their full defensive grid— You have not seen our full defensive grid, Donghain interrupted, apparently monitoring their communications. What you have encountered so far represents approximately 20% of our total capability. We wanted to give you a chance to reconsider your position before things became unpleasant. You are bluffing. Am I? Computer, activate Jupiter Defense Platform. The tactical display suddenly showed a massive energy signature from the gas giant's orbital path. What had appeared to be a natural moon of Jupiter revealed itself as a weapons platform the size of a small planet, its surface bristling with weapon arrays that could sterilize entire continents. That is one of 12, Dong Heian continued conversationally. Each of the outer planets has similar installations. They are not currently targeting your fleet, but that could change. Krex stared at the display in disbelief. The energy requirements alone would be impossible for a single world to maintain. We have been very efficient with our resource management. Also, who said we are limited to a single world? Sol 3 is our capital, not our only inhabited system. Systems, Victor whispered. Did you think we spent a century building defenses around just one planet?
Oh.
Han's voice carried a note of amusement. We have been expanding very quietly, very carefully. We have established defensive positions in 47 systems. Each one is fully integrated with our central command network. The implications hit Krex like a physical blow. Humans had not just been hiding their military capabilities, they had been conducting a secret expansion program while the galaxy watched Earth and assumed they were seeing the full extent of human civilization. You are claiming to control 47 systems? We are claiming to defend 47 systems. There is a difference. We are not interested in ruling anyone. We are interested in making sure no one rules us. General Victor approached his emperor, speaking in a whisper that the human captain could undoubtedly hear. My lord, if this is true, we are not facing a single world. We are facing a hidden empire. Emperor Krex Donghyan continued, you have two choices. You can order your remaining ships to withdraw from our space, return to your own territory, and tell your people that the Corvani Empire has decided to pursue peaceful relations with humanity. Or you can escalate this conflict and discover exactly how much of our defensive capability we have been holding in reserve. And if I choose to fight, then you will be the emperor who destroyed the Corvani Empire's entire fleet in a single afternoon. Your people will remember you as the leader who challenged an enemy he did not understand and lost everything. Krex closed his eyes, his mind racing through the possibilities. His intelligence services had failed catastrophically. The humans had been operating under deep cover for over a century, building defenses that made his empire's vaunted military look like an amateur militia. Worse, they had been studying his people, learning their tactics, preparing countermeasures. What guarantee do I have that you will not attack our territory? The same guarantee you gave us when you arrived here with 15,000 warships. Absolutely none. The difference is, we are not interested in conquest. We are interested in being left alone. You expect me to believe that a species with this level of military capability has no territorial ambitions? We expect you to believe that a species with this level of military capability does not need territorial ambitions. We have everything we require. We have built our civilization to be self-sufficient. We do not need to conquer anyone. Krex opened, his eyes studying the tactical display. His remaining ships were surrounded, outgunned, and facing an enemy that had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. The smart choice was obvious. The honorable choice was suicide. All ships, he commanded, his voice carrying across the fleet frequency. Withdraw to minimum safe distance. We are reassessing our strategic position. A wise decision, Donghyan replied. We will escort your ships to the edge of our territory. We suggest you use the travel time to reconsider your empire's expansion policies. It's the surviving Corvani. Vessels began their retreat. Krex found himself wondering how many other primitive species might be concealing similar surprises. The galaxy suddenly seemed like a much more dangerous place. Sir, Yulden reported, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They are demanding an immediate ceasefire and requesting all parties to submit to council mediation. Krex almost laughed. The council, which had failed to detect the largest military buildup in galactic history, now wanted to mediate a conflict they had completely misunderstood. Tell the council, he said slowly, that the Corvani Empire is prepared to discuss new diplomatic arrangements with the human territories. Tell them we have learned some very interesting things about our neighbors. What should we tell them about the humans? Krex watched as his decimated fleet limped toward the edge of human space, escorted by vessels that had emerged from what he had thought was empty void. Tell them the truth. Tell them we have no idea who we are dealing with. The retreat continued. In silence, broken only by the occasional explosion, as damaged Corvani ships succumbed to their injuries. The invasion that was supposed to add Earth to the Empire's collection of conquered worlds had instead revealed the existence of a hidden superpower that had been preparing for Galactic war while maintaining the facade of peaceful cooperation. My Lord General Victor said quietly, what do we do now? Krex stared at the tactical display where human escorts maintained perfect formation around his fleeing ships. Now we learn to live in a galaxy where the humans are no longer hiding. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 18 hours straight. The chamber, designed to accommodate the various atmospheric requirements of hundreds of species, hummed with recycling systems working at maximum capacity, as delegates argued, speculated, and demanded answers that no one seemed able to provide. Ambassador Kiwu remained at the center of the chaos, fielding questions with the patience of someone who had expected this moment for decades. The holographic display surrounding him showed the current positions of the Corvani fleet in full retreat toward the edge of human space and the gradually emerging picture of Earth's true defensive capabilities. The numbers do not make sense. Councilmember Thekler insisted, his green scales now a pale color of confusion. The energy requirements for weapons of this magnitude would require the equestrial output of at least 50 fully developed worlds. The math is quite straightforward, Kiwu replied calmly. We have been developing fusion technology for nearly 2 centuries. Our current generation of reactors can power a small city from a device the size of a ground vehicle. Scale that up appropriately and the energy requirements become manageable. But the materials, protested Yithka, her crystalline form chiming with each word. The rare elements needed for magnetic acceleration systems of this magnitude are abundant. In asteroid mining operations, Kiwu finished. We have been mining the asteroid belt for over a century. We have extracted enough raw materials to build several dozen worlds. Council leader Vexstar raised a tentacle for silence. Ambassador, the Council needs to understand the full scope of human military capabilities. The security of the galaxy may depend on this information. The security of the galaxy depends on species not attacking each other, Kiwu corrected. But, to answer your question, we have sufficient defensive capability to protect our interests. We have no intention of using that capability aggressively. That is not an answer. It is the only answer you are going to receive. The chamber erupted in protests, but Kiwu remained unmoved. The Council has operated for millennia on the assumption that military strength inevitably leads to military aggression. We are proof that this assumption is incorrect. We have had these capabilities for decades, and we have never used them against anyone who did not attack us first. Corvani Empire had legitimate expansion rights, argued Councilmember Rolthick. The outer regions of the galaxy have been available for colonization for centuries. The Corvani Empire had no rights to Earth, Kiwu replied sharply. We are not an unclaimed world. We are a sovereign system with the right to defend ourselves. But you never declared your true military capabilities to the Council. This represents a fundamental violation of the transparency protocols. Show me the regulation that requires member species to disclose their defensive capabilities, Kiwu challenged. I will wait. The silence that followed was telling. The Council's membership agreements focused on trade relations, diplomatic protocols, and conflict resolution. They had never considered that as species. I joined the Galactic community while maintaining significant classified military assets. The precedent is troubling, Vexstar admitted finally. If every species maintains hidden military capabilities, the foundation of galactic diplomacy becomes meaningless. The foundation of galactic diplomacy, Kiwu replied, is the assumption that rational beings prefer negotiation to warfare. That assumption remains valid. We have simply ensured that anyone who prefers warfare will find the experience educational. The tactical display shifted to show new information streaming in from the Sol system, the human fleet, having escorted the Corvani vessels to the edge of their territory, is now revealing additional defensive positions that had remained hidden throughout the conflict. Dear gods, whispered Councilmember Jexstar, whose compound eyes tracked the emerging data. They have installations throughout the entire outer system. This is not a defensive network. This is a fortress, is a home, Kiwu corrected. We have simply made it a very secure home. What happens now? Vexter asked. The Corvani Empire has suffered a devastating defeat. Other expansionist species will take notice. The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted. The balance of power in the galaxy has been corrected, Kiwu replied. For too long, aggressive species have operated under the assumption that peaceful worlds are defenseless worlds. We have demonstrated that this assumption is false. You have demonstrated that humanity is not a peaceful species. We have demonstrated that humanity is a prepared species. There is a difference. The chamber's attention was drawn to a new development on the tactical displays. A massive human vessel, easily the size of a small moon, was approaching the edge of the Sol system, apparently responding to the Corvani withdrawal. "What is that?" Thekler asked, his voice barely a whisper. "That," Kiwu replied with obvious pride, "is the diplomatic corps' vessel Sol. She is coming to collect me. A diplomatic vessel. That is a battleship. She is a diplomatic vessel. That happens to be heavily armed? We have found that diplomacy is much more effective when conducted from a position of strength." As if to emphasize his point, the Sol's specifications began streaming across the tactical displays. The ship was indeed primarily designed for diplomatic missions, with extensive conference facilities, cultural exchange areas, and accommodation for hundreds of different species. It also mounted enough firepower to level a continent. "You see," Kiwu continued, "we have learned something important about galactic politics. Everyone respects strength, everyone fears weakness. We have chosen to be strong so that we can afford to be peaceful. And if other species feel threatened by your strength, then they are welcome to build their own defenses. We encourage it. Actually, a galaxy where every species can defend itself is a galaxy where aggressive expansion becomes impossible." The Sol settled into orbit around the Council Station, its massive bulk dwarfing the diplomatic vessels of dozens of other species. The message was clear. Humanity had revealed itself as a major power, and the galaxy would have to adjust accordingly. Ambassador Vexstar's voice carried a note of resignation. "What does humanity want from the galactic community?" "The same thing we have always wanted," Kiwu replied. "To be left alone to develop our civilization in peace. The difference is, now we have the ability to enforce that desire, and if the Council were to impose sanctions, economic restrictions, diplomatic isolation..." Kiwu smiled. "Council leader, we have been preparing for this conversation for over a century. We have developed independent supply chains, self-sufficient manufacturing, and alternative trade networks. We joined the galactic community because we wanted to, not because we needed to." The implications were staggering. The humans had not simply hidden their military capabilities. They had prepared for complete independence from galactic civilization. They could survive and thrive even if the rest of the galaxy turned against them. "What you are describing," Rolthik observed, "is the foundation of an empire." "What we are describing," Kiwu corrected, "is the foundation of freedom. We do not want to rule anyone. We want to make sure no one rules us." The Sol's communication. Systems activated, and Captain Dong Han's voice filled the chamber. "Ambassador Kiwu, we are prepared to receive you aboard. Council has our diplomatic contact information if they wish to continue these discussions." "Thank you, Captain." Kwa turned to address the assembly one final time. "The galaxy is changing. Species that have forgotten how to defend themselves are rediscovering the necessity. Aggressive empires are learning that expansion has costs. The age of easy conquest is ending. K and humanity's role in this new galaxy. We will be the species that others call when they need help remembering how to fight." With those words, Ambassador Kiwu walked toward the chamber's exit, leaving behind a council that suddenly realized they had been playing a game whose rules they had never fully understood. The humans had been watching, learning, and preparing, while the rest of the galaxy assumed they were harmless. Council and Shock Story, third part, the Galactic Council. Chamber erupted in chaos as the real-time footage from the Earth system reached their screens. Delegates who had been preparing to debate humanitarian aid for human refugees now watched in stunned silence as the Corvain Empire's invincible fleet struggled against defenses that should not have existed. "This is completely unprecedented." Council leader Vexstar's tentacles writhed with agitation. The humans have been hiding their true military capabilities for decades. Ambassador Kiwu stood calmly in the center of the maelstrom, his hands clasped behind his back as alien voices rose in a cacophony of disbelief and accusation. When the noise finally died down, he spoke with the same measured tone he had maintained throughout the crisis. "The Council seems surprised by Earth's defensive capabilities. I am curious. Did anyone actually ask us about our military preparedness?" During the membership negotiations, the silence that followed was deafening. Council member Thekler, his green scales now a deep red of embarrassment, was the first to respond. The standard survey protocols indicated minimal military presence. Your orbital platforms were classified as research stations. Your asteroid mining operations showed no signs of military application. The surveys were accurate, Kiwu replied. Our orbital platforms do conduct research. Our asteroid mining operations have been highly successful. He simply chose not to elaborate on the specific nature of these activities. You deliberately misled the council, accused Yithka, her crystalline form chiming with indignation. We omitted details that were not requested, Kiwu corrected. There is a distinction. Every species maintains certain classified information. We assumed the council understood this. On the holographic display, another Corvani vessel disappeared in a cascade of light as human weapons found their mark. The Emperor's fleet, which had begun the day with overwhelming numerical superiority, was now fighting a desperate holding action against defenses that seemed to materialize from empty space. How long? Vextar's voice was barely a whisper. How long have you been preparing for this? Kiwu considered the question carefully. The initial defensive protocols were established in 2157. Approximately 130 of your standard. Years ago. The current system represents the accumulated efforts of 6 human generations. But why? The question came from Council Member Rolthik, whose gaseous form rippled with confusion. Your species had no enemies, no territorial disputes. You lived in complete isolation. You studied galactic history, Kiwu replied simply. We observed the patterns of expansion, conquest, and subjugation that have characterized interstellar relations for millennia. We noted that peaceful species tend to have very short lifespans once they encounter more aggressive neighbors. So, you've prepared for war. We've prepared for survival. The display shifted to show the inner system, where the retreating Corvani fleet was discovering that Earth's defenses extended far beyond the planet itself. The moon, long thought to be a barren satellite, began launching waves of fighters that moved with impossible speed and agility. Lunar Defense Corps reporting, came a crisp voice over the tactical frequency. Colonel Tejo, commanding. We have multiple hostile contacts attempting to establish orbit around the primary, engaging with full authorization. The moon-based fighters swarmed around the Corvani vessels like angry hornets. Their small size made them nearly impossible to target, while their weapons, apparently designed specifically for anti-ship combat, carved through alien holes with surgical precision. This is impossible, Emperor Krex's voice had degraded to a harsh whisper. Intelligence indicated the humans had no significant space-based military presence. Your intelligence was correct, replied Admiral Hyjin from her orbital command. Platform. We had no military presence. We had a research presence, a mining presence, a scientific presence. The fact that our researchers happened to be studying advanced weapon systems, our miners happened to be excavating strategic materials, and our scientists happened to be developing new forms of propulsion was coincidental. The irony was not lost on the council delegates. They had spent decades cataloging human activities, filing reports on Earth's peaceful development, and congratulating themselves on successfully integrating another harmless species into galactic civilization. None of them had considered that the humans might be cataloging them in return. Ambassador Vextar's voice carried a note of genuine curiosity. What did your intelligence services conclude about the rest of us? Kiwu smiled, and several delegates found themselves leaning back in their seats. We concluded that the galaxy is filled with species that have forgotten how to fight. You have become accustomed to conflict resolution through diplomacy, economic pressure, and council mediation. These are admirable qualities. They are also vulnerabilities. And the Corvani. Corvani are bullies. They are very good at conquering species that do not fight back. They are considerably less effective against opponents who shoot first and negotiate afterward. As if to punctuate his words, the display showed a cluster of Corvani ships attempting to flee the system, only to find their escape route blocked by a human battle group that seemed to have materialized from the void itself. You see, Kiwu continued, we have been watching all of you for a very long time. We have studied your tactics, your technologies, your weaknesses. We have prepared contingencies for every major galactic power, not because we intended to fight you, but because we wanted to ensure we could survive if fighting became necessary. You have been planning to war against the entire galaxy, Thekla accused. We have been planning to survive in a galaxy that wages war, Kiwu corrected. There is a difference. Chamber fell silent as the implication sank in. The humans had not simply hidden their military capabilities. They had systematically analyzed and prepared countermeasures against every species in the Council. Earth was not the helpless world they had believed it to be. It was a fortress, disguised as a garden, armed with weapons that could challenge the combined might of the galaxy. What happens now? Vexstar asked. Kiwu glanced at the display, where the Corvani fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind nearly half their ships as burning debris. Now we see if Emperor Krex is intelligent enough to withdraw, or foolish enough to escalate. The council members exchanged worried glances. They had assumed they were dealing with a primitive species that needed their protection. Instead, they had discovered a hidden superpower that had been preparing for galactic war while maintaining the facade of peaceful cooperation. The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted, Ralthik observed quietly. The balance of power in the galaxy has been revealed, Kiwu corrected. We have always had these capabilities. We have simply chosen not to use them until now. And if other species feel threatened by your strength, then they are welcome to build their own defenses. We encourage it, actually. A galaxy where every species can defend itself is a galaxy where aggressive expansion becomes impossible. The Soul, a massive human vessel that dwarfed every other ship in the system, appeared on the edge of the tactical display. Its specifications began streaming across the screens, revealing a ship that was ostensibly designed for diplomatic missions, but carried enough firepower to level a continent. Ambassador Vexstar's voice carried a note of resignation. What does humanity want from the galactic community? It's the same thing we have always wanted, Kiwu replied. It's be left alone to develop our civilization in peace. The difference is, now we have the ability to enforce that desire. Council and Shock Story, 6th part. 3 months after the failed invasion of Earth, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy new equilibrium. The Corvani Empire, humbled by their devastating defeat, had withdrawn to their core systems and begun urgent negotiations with their neighbors. The Galactic Council had established a new committee on undisclosed military capabilities and was frantically reviewing the defensive postures of all member species. Ambassador Kiwu stood in the observation deck of the Soul, watching the stars wheel by as the massive diplomatic vessel approached the Kepler 442 system. The planet below was a garden world, home to the Althari, a peaceful species of crystalline beings who had recently sent a desperate message to the Terran Federation. Captain Janae, he said to the ship's commander, a woman whose calm exterior concealed decades of military experience, what is our tactical assessment of the situation? The Nexari Republic has positioned a blockade fleet around Althara Prime, she replied, consulting her datapad. 47 vessels, mostly heavy cruisers and support ships. They have issued standard demands: submission to Nexari authority, tribute payments, and territorial concessions. And the Althari response? They have requested assistance under the Mutual Defense Compact we established last month. They are offering access to their crystal synthesis technology in exchange for protection. Kiwu nodded. The Althari were master craftsmen who could grow crystalline structures with properties that made them ideal for advanced computing systems. Their technology was valuable, but more importantly, their pacifist culture made them vulnerable to exactly the kind of aggressive expansion that had characterized galactic politics for centuries. How many species have signed the compact so far? 17, Janae replied. All of them worlds that have been threatened by expansionist neighbors. The Kepler Coalition, the Vegan Commerce Guild, the Centauri Research Collective. They are all looking for alternatives to Council protection. The Mutual Defense Compact had been humanity's response to the post-Corvani galaxy. Rather than simply defending Earth, they had offered to extend their protection to any species that requested it. The terms were simple. In exchange for technological, knowledge and cultural exchange, humanity would guarantee the sovereignty of member worlds. Sir, reported Lieutenant Sujin from the communications station. We are receiving a transmission from the Nexari fleet. They are demanding our immediate withdrawal from their operational area. Put them through. The main display materialized, with the image of Fleet Admiral Kexanari, reptilian being whose species had been expanding aggressively for the past decade. His vertical pupils contracted as he recognized the human ambassador. Ambassador Kiwu. Your reputation precedes you. I trust you are not here to interfere with legitimate Nexari expansion activities. Admiral Kexanari. I am here to discuss the sovereignty of the Althori system. I understand you have made certain demands regarding their governance. The Althori lack the ability to defend themselves. The Nexari Republic is offering them protection in exchange for reasonable considerations. The Althari have requested different protection. They have chosen to align themselves with the Mutual Defense Compact. The Althari are not in a position to make such choices. They have no military capability, no strategic value beyond their technology, and no ability to resist Nexari authority. They have us. The words hung in the vacuum between the two fleets. Kexanari's expression shifted from confidence to uncertainty as he processed the implications. You would risk war with the Nexari Republic over a single world. You would honor our commitments to our allies. The Althari have requested our protection. We have agreed to provide it. The Nexari Republic has legitimate expansion rights in this region. The Galactic Council has not disputed our claims. The Galactic Council has not recognized your claims either. More importantly, the Althari have not recognized your claims. They are a sovereign world with the right to choose their own alliances. Captain, Janae approached the display, her uniform bearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Force. Admiral, we are detecting weapon locks from your fleet. I suggest you stand down your targeting systems. You have one ship, Kexanari replied. We have 47. You have 47 ships, Janae corrected. We have one ship and a very creative interpretation of defensive necessity. The Soul's tactical systems activated, and the space around the diplomatic vessel began to shimmer. What had appeared to be empty void revealed itself as a carefully positioned minefield. Each device invisible to conventional sensors, but capable of crippling any ship that attempted to pass through. We also have reinforcements, Kiwu added, gesturing to the tactical display. Captain Songho, please announce your presence. The space around Althor Prime suddenly filled with new contacts as a human battle group decloaked. 12 warships, each one disguised as merchant vessels or research platforms, revealed their true nature as military escorts for the Soul. This is Captain Songho of the Terran Defense Force, came a crisp voice over the communications array. Admiral Kexanar, you are now outnumbered and outgunned. We suggest you reconsider your position. Kexanari stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How did you get a battle group here without our sensors detecting them? The same way we hid our defenses around Earth, Kiwu replied. We are very good at disguising things. This is impossible. Our intelligence indicated you had no significant military presence in this region. Your intelligence was incomplete. We have been establishing defensive positions throughout the galaxy for decades. Any species that requests our protection receives. The Nexari Admiral's confidence evaporated as he realized the implications. The humans had not simply defended their home system. They had been quietly building a network of alliances and defensive positions that could challenge any expansionist. Power in the galaxy. What do you want? Kexanari asked finally. We want you to withdraw your fleet from Althori space and recognize their right to self-determination, Kiwu replied. In return, we will not demonstrate the full capabilities of our defensive systems. And if we refuse, then you will discover why the Corvani Empire is no longer interested in aggressive expansion. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of ship systems and the distant whisper of stellar wind. Kexanari studied the tactical display, noting the positioning of the human ships and the sophisticated minefield that had appeared. From nowhere, the Nexari Republic withdraws its claims to the Althori system, he said finally. We will seek expansion opportunities elsewhere. A wise decision, Kiwu replied. We look forward to peaceful relations with the Nexari Republic. As the alien fleet began its withdrawal, Captain Janae approached the ambassador. Sir, we are receiving messages from 17 different systems. Word of what happened here is spreading quickly. What kind of messages? Request for membership in the Mutual Defense Compact? It seems other species are interested in our protection services. Kiwu smiled as he watched the Nexari ships disappear into hyperspace. The galaxy is learning that there are alternatives to conquest and submission. Perhaps we can build something better than what came before. What do we tell the Galactic Council? We tell them the truth. We tell them that the age of easy conquest is over. From now on, any species that wants to expand will have to deal with us. The soul turned toward its next destination, where another peaceful world was requesting protection from aggressive neighbors. The human fleet, once hidden in the shadows, was now openly patrolling the galaxy, ensuring that peaceful species could remain peaceful without becoming victims. The balance of power had shifted permanently. The strong could no longer prey on the weak, because the weak now had protectors who were stronger still. And at the center of it all were the humans, who had spent a century preparing for a war they hoped would never come, and who had emerged as the galaxy's reluctant guardians of peace.